I know a lot of you guys, when you think about creating content, it becomes this idea of just that another thing that needs to be put on that to-do list. You keep moving it from one day to the next day to the next day. How do I know? Well, I kind of do it myself sometimes. We need to have a specific plan in place in order sometimes to be able to achieve our goals. And a lot of times we think that putting it onto our to-do list is part of that plan. And it can be part of the plan. It just can't be the whole plan. So you guys are going to get to hear from some pretty awesome tutors today. We have Suzanne Davis in the house, and Suzanne has specifically had this idea to do a 30-day blogging challenge. Instead of being able to write an entire blog like in a day or in one sitting, what would happen if you broke it down into smaller pieces to be able to accomplish the task? And Suzanne got this idea because she's part of something called NaNoWriMo. And this is where she has to write so many words every single day to be able to write a novel by the end of the 30 days. And she's already started it, and she's been consistent with it. And I can't wait to hear how it's going for her. So thank you for joining us today, Suzanne.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and to be here with all the winners of the challenge.
Yes, that is exciting. And you know what? They couldn't have done it without an amazing leader with you who had that inspiration and that idea to be able to put that into place. So how did you get the idea to do the 30-day writing challenge?
A couple of things. One was the planning for NaNoWriMo and really getting that set and knowing that for that challenge, you have to write 50,000 words in a month. So you really have to break things down in order to find how to do it really just little by little every day to stay consistent. And I thought, well, if that works for me and I can do that with something that's 50,000 words, then all of these tutor bloggers can do the same thing, especially when blog posts aren't as long.
Yeah.
And the other thing that was on my mind was Elaine, who's here. She was in my very first blogging class, and I had suggested to her to kind of just break it down into small chunks of writing every day. And she did that, and she was great at being consistent, and Elaine is super busy. You can ask her about that, but she does everything. And I thought, well, if she can do this, and my blogging group, I really want them to actually dive into the blogging. And usually the hardest piece is just getting started and actually doing the writing.
Yeah. It doesn't matter how many trainings you attend on blogging, how many workshops you attend. If you're not actually writing, it's really going to be hard to end up having that blog post, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got to sit down and write. And a challenge is a great way to kind of push you beyond that fear or that the things that are in your mind that keep you from writing, like, oh, I need to find more research, or oh, I'm not just quite ready to publish. I want to find like 5 different topics and get a certain amount of blog posts before I start, or it's too many words, and there's all these things that play around in our minds. And so if you just think of, okay, how do I break it down and reach a certain number by the end? And then they're all going to be blogging, and just about everybody who started the challenge won the challenge, which
what?
I'm so happy about. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, 11 people started, and so I think we have 9 winners. Not everyone is here today, but
wow. Now that says something when you set a goal that is that powerful and then you follow through with it, how you can break it down and be able to achieve it. So tell us how you organize the challenge.
Well, it's actually 2 challenges. It all came under the idea of the 30-day blogging challenge to grow your online tutoring business. But I thought about people who have really different goals. Some people want to blog every week, and some people want to blog every other week. So I set up 2 different challenges within that. So the Tutor Blogging Star Challenge is one where people would write 3,000 words by the end of the month, because that would help them really be able to put together 2 blog posts per month. If they can write at that type of case on blogging topics that they'll turn into blog posts. And then the other tutor blogging challenge was for people who want to write every week. And so for that one, the tutor blogging rockstar challenge, they had to write 6,000 words in a month, which would really be a blog post every week. Actually more, but because a blog post is shorter than that, but 6,000 seems like a good number.
Mm-hmm.
So it equals, so if you did the one challenge, it would equal 100 words a day for 30 days. Mm-hmm. And if you did the 6,000, it would equal 200 words per day.
And that seems like a really doable, like when you say that seems like a really doable number for many people and breaking it down. So now you guys are going to get to meet the tutors that went through this challenge. We're going to learn about who they are, where they're from, and what they tutor before we go on in and dive deeper into the real juicy questions. But first, we're going to introduce Audrey.
Hello, everyone. This is Audrey Cotner-Gibson from Baltimore, Maryland, and I tutor secondary math. So anything from 7th through 12th, and it has to do with algebra, I am your woman.
Awesome. We got Elaine Lingard from Ireland here.
Hi, I'm Elaine, and I run my own tuition centre as well as do online sessions for maths and English. I currently work with kids from age 5 through to 16. And it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. And we've got Jennifer Hannick.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Hannick, and I am from Western Wisconsin. I own a tutoring business called Liftoff Learning. It is primarily in person, although I've pivoted to online for elementary and middle school kids, typically first grade through 8th grade in reading and math.
And we've got Anna Denisick.
Hi, everyone. I live near Toronto, Canada. I tutor elementary and middle school reading and writing online.
Awesome. And we've got Lynn Wilson.
Hi, I'm Lynn Wilson from Pembroke Pines, which is in the south of Florida, and I tutor reading, narrowing it down to students K to 3.
Awesome. And we've got Stephanie.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Gerstenblith, and I am just outside D.C. in Maryland in the suburbs. I own Enhancing Your Strengths, and I tutor both. I kind of have two areas. I work with students in executive functioning, and I also work with students who typically have dyslexia or they're not yet diagnosed, but have reading challenges, and I use the Orton-Gillingham approach.
Awesome. And we've got Esme.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I am Esme Lozano, and I'm from Dallas, Texas, and I teach reading, online reading to elementary students. I teach them to read in English and Spanish.
Awesome. Well, I just want to just congratulate all of you guys for not only being a winner today, but making an intention to do something, following through, and making it all the way to the end. You guys are amazing. So awesome. So I'm curious, did any of you guys have experience with blogging before this challenge?
I did. And it kind of made me realize with the stuff that Suzanne taught me about readability and how to make blog posts and titles more interesting that I didn't necessarily know what I was doing before.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Anybody else who had blogged before? Yep. Elaine, you have?
Yeah, I had been blogging for a couple of years before, and I really got my teeth into it when I did the course with Suzanne first time round there. And I was kind of at the point where I was doing maybe 1 or 2 blog posts a month. And I'm just so lucky to have Suzanne as one of my accountability partners. And she was there giving me the push all the time, saying, come on, you can do it, you can do it. And she made me realize that I can do 10 extra minutes every day. and I did it. So
Yeah.
thank you, Suzanne, for being so inspirational.
Oh, I love it. Anybody else do blogging before? Yeah, Lynn.
I have been postponing it for 2 years now.
Ooh, nice. So no longer postponing it, are you?
No, I was freed by Suzanne's approach. I think she taught us how to eat an elephant.
Yes, right? One bite at a
Just
time.
by doing those 10 minutes, you were free to write.
Mm-hmm.
And that made all the difference.
Yeah.
The thoughts flow.
And it's funny that you say that, because I remember Suzanne even like really every time I talked to her, she was always saying like glowing things about you, Lynn. She was always like, Lynn is she's really doing this. She's going on in, and she's making some great gains. And it was so good to kind of hear what was happening on the other side, because I wasn't in the challenge with you guys, and I wasn't in those calls, but I was always hearing like great things about you guys and what you guys were doing, and that's awesome. So as you guys were involved in this challenge, what are some of the realizations that you had about blogging?
I realized that I could write close to 300 words in 10 minutes. Didn't know that.
Ooh.
And after that, it changed. That was what really changed things for me, because then I thought, oh, I can do a blog with 1,000 words. That would be easy. And so really Suzanne was the one that changed that for me. And that really just realizing how much you can do in 10 minutes, that you can make it part of your day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is really eye-opening, isn't it? So that's something to kind of, for those of you guys that are watching, that would be a really good trial for yourself, is, turn on that timer for 10 minutes and write, and see how many words can you write in that 10 minutes. And I think that'll kind of open up your eyes. Can I write 1,000 word blog post in that amount of time? I think I probably write 5,000 words a day, you guys.
It's a habit for you.
It has become a habit for me. Like, I just sit and I just like type. It's like, it just like goes. It's the editing process that takes a while for me, because now I got to actually like go through and fix it all. But
I think that's where we may be right now.
Well, I was afraid of the formatting, and Suzanne knew this because I was already part of the blogging mastermind, and that's where I was getting, mental blocks. Not so much the writing, but once she just said, okay, do not worry about the formatting. Let's just get the writing on paper. That changed everything for me.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
Yeah, I had a similar experience. I think it's probably universal, but I'm my own worst enemy, I think, and I too want it to sound good when it comes out right away. And so I taught 4th and 5th grade for 25 years. So I taught my kids to do that. Just brainstorm, just write. Don't even, I teach the kids, don't even worry about punctuation or capital letters or anything. Just write. Even if you have to write, I can't think of anything to write. I can't think of anything to write. So I've taught kids to do that, but it's different when you are doing it yourself. And so I had to switch my mindset to treat myself like I treat my students, and just have a lot of grace and just write. And then I gained momentum and confidence. The very first 10 minutes, I wrote like 400 words. I thought, wow, I think I can do this.
Yes.
So I really appreciate it.
That's awesome. And, I think there's a lot of us that get stuck in that perfectionism, and especially when it comes to writing, because as a tutor, we do have, it's a professional blog. It's not a blog about my family, right? It is a little bit different. And so it's like, while you're just talking, it sounds like you're talking to your next door neighbor. There are pieces of grammar that still need to be present. Like, I have to spell words correctly. I have to, there are just some of those things that we have to do that I think that scares us. Anybody else? Does it scare you?
Well, it scared me. I'm not even. So I'm coming from the math world.
Yeah.
And now I'm going into the world less traveled, which is the English world. Mm-hmm. And not to say that people that do math can't do English, but it was intimidating for me because that's not my normal, routine.
Mm-hmm.
So just the fact of thinking of what I was going to write about, just like you mentioned, like I'm talking about professional, but a lot of people don't really like math. So I'm going to sit here and be like, all right, let's talk about distributive property. Hey, let's talk about, the Pythagorean theorem. But most people are going to be like, oh, that's a cute title, and they're going to move on. So I have to be really inventive, like how I can kind of put the math into it, or maybe put a little bit of my personality into it to make it interesting. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I'm still playing around with things. And even though it's great that I was able to get those number of words, which I didn't think. I started off as a star. And next thing you know, I turned into a rock star because I was like cranking out hundreds. And I was like, okay, let me see what I'm going to talk about. And then this. And it's like very shocking. But at the same time, it was something I don't normally do. Mm-hmm. So it's always good to at least try something that you're not used to doing on a daily. Do something that's a little scary. Nothing like illegal, but just a little scary, a little bit on the edge.
I didn't think of this as being on the edge.
Well, for me,
that's because you're a reading chick. That's because you're a reading chick and you're a math chick. But here's the thing, like Suzanne has this theory. She says, look, anybody can learn to write. So even if you think you can't write, you can learn to write, right? Right, Suzanne?
Absolutely. We all have something to say, and it's just, I start with everybody as a writer. So we all have something to say. We all have great ideas. It's just a matter of actually sitting down, writing them, and then everything else can be shaped afterwards. But get things on paper. Mm-hmm. It's going to be way better than you think, too.
Yeah. The tracking, I didn't realize that I was competitive until I saw Lynn, and I hadn't been writing down my tracking, and then I was like, oh, what is she doing? Oh my goodness. I was like, I don't know, you all have seen this little video of a cat on a typewriter, but my son is always sending it to me because he's a reporter. And so if I'm writing him and he's very busy, he'll always send that video automatically, like I'm in the zone. And I was like, I am in the zone. I'm sorry, we can't leave you. Got to do my 10 minutes. So it did. It really, competition and accountability, it's worth it.
Yes, I really went in. I typed first thing in the morning, 99% of the time, and then I entered it. And I was always surprised where my thoughts went because new thoughts came out of almost nowhere as they were going down on paper, and I loved that. Mm-hmm. So afterwards, what I tried to do, did you notice the word try? Use that same amount of time, actually try to do 15 minutes of editing. 15 minutes of editing does not equal 10 minutes of free writing. So if you can start to get an idea of the format and write it in that manner, it saves you a lot of time and it gives you some organization right from the start.
Mm-hmm. I got to publish my blog during this
Yay!
8 weeks, and the other one's ready too, so I just need to add some images. So yeah, I got 2 blogs out of this time. Yeah, of course, I'm very happy.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Congratulations.
The competition is, mate, I would say that I'm probably a little competitive, but gee, I was on there every day. How many words have they written? I need to keep up. So I was the same. I was looking all the time and thinking, right, they're 1,000 words ahead of me. I have to do a little bit more. I have to catch up. So it's really good having your peers with you doing a challenge like this, because it really does make you raise your game, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's momentum, isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely.
I didn't do that, though. I was trying
Lynn,
to make it a daily habit.
Lynn, you were so far ahead, you weren't even looking back. We were looking.
I'm flabbergasted. I really am.
But I think it's cool.
There was times that I was like, oh, okay. I didn't do my typing. It's 9 o'clock at night. Oh, my God. Putting the hair up. Typing. So it really, everyone's talking about the accountability. Like, it really sparked that, like, oh, if I don't do it in the morning, like Lynn, say things happen, you get caught up in the world, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, night, and like, wait, oh. Husband's like, where are you going? I'm like,
I have to admit, I got up out of bed once because I couldn't do it in the morning, and I realized I had forgotten to type. Got out of bed.
This is the truth.
Typed away.
It is the truth. Like, I'm not really a competitive person, but Lynn, you're inspiring me with what you're saying about 10 minutes of writing a day and then 15 minutes of editing. And what I like is that hearing that other people feel the same way as me about stuff. Like the things you said about not liking the fact that people judge blog posts based on word count as being kind of shallow and superficial. But it's true. Suzanne has a point.
I feel that way. I don't remember saying it, but okay.
You did say that in the videos that I'm going back and watching, and I agree. Like, it's not fair, and I'm realizing that I'm going to have to lengthen some of what I wrote and add, like, more quotes and stuff like that so that people get the background information they need to understand what I'm writing, when originally I wouldn't have thought to do that. So anything that improves readability is good, but sometimes you realize that later and not in the moment, and that's okay.
Yeah. I think I told Stephanie at some point, she shared her blog, and I'm like, I think you need to break it up into 3. And she said, Suzanne says no, that it needs to be at least 1,000 words. I was like, oops. And then when I started creating the 1,000-word blog, I realized what Suzanne is saying about the credibility. Like, people read it and go, she knows what she's talking about. It's not just a Facebook post or a meme or it's building that trust and credibility. So you're right, Suzanne. I'm sorry.
I know, but all of a sudden I'm feeling guilty because everybody's going to think I'm just this taskmaster.
Well, you're right, but you also mentioned something to me about, like, having other content, like a video or pictures. So if you have more pictures, you don't have to write as many words, which is good. So if you have a mix of, like, words, pictures, quotes, and other stuff, people will understand why you wrote less, because the other content is in what other things you're presenting. Like, people aren't going to want to read 1,000 words and then watch a video. You're going to have to balance it. So it really depends on the context.
Absolutely, yes. And some people, the words are great, but I like having images, things like infographics, because to visually present information makes it so easy for people to recall it and understand it in the first place.
He loves infographics. And it really does help us keep our information set up in a way that's usable for other people and gives us clarity of mind on the same point.
And pinnable too.
If you ever have the imposter syndrome, blogging will get rid of it. You'll be like, I know what I'm talking about.
Yes, that's so true. That is very true.
Yeah, I felt that when I first started blogging because I had that imposter syndrome. Yes, I've taught academic writing in English for years, but who's supposed to listen to me? And then I actually started writing those blog posts, and I thought, I'm an expert now. I know more than I think I know, and can help people through writing more than I think I can.
Yeah. In fact, even colleges and universities will share her blog posts with their students to have them read.
I know, that was mind-blowing to me. That was absolutely mind-blowing when that happened. But I do have teachers that read my blog posts, share my things, and it's really cool.
Yeah. And I think that's the cool thing about this is, like, a lot of people say, well, how do I get students from all over the world? Create content. Like, that is one of the biggest ways to be able to get clients from all over the world. You create content, you share that content in an engageable format, and you are going to continue to get followers to your content because they really appreciate what you share. But, you do have to, there definitely have to be standards. It's not just like I'm going to write and it's going to be incorrect or inaccurate. You definitely have to put your time into it. But when you do, it is completely worth it.
Website analytics And at first, when I would check it, it would say everything was coming through my social media to my website.
Mm-hmm.
And when I published my blog, I got 20 people that entered my website through the blog.
Oh, that's cool. So they went through Google or another search engine like that and found you. So it wasn't now just the social media that you were sharing that got them to your website. Now it's other places as well. And that's really the thing, right? We have to guide people to our website. A lot of people think that I make a website and people are just going to find it. But there's so much work that we have to do in order to get people to find it. It's just like a store. If you don't give people the address, they can't get there, right? It's like I can think it, but just thinking it isn't going to get me there. So I think that's really important. And your blog gets to be one of the paths, one of the roads to them learning about you.
Yeah, that's a very good description, in that other people who I met through Jumpstart were talking about this, in that your website is kind of like a storefront, but you need a good storefront in order for people to take you seriously. So it's all a process.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to thank you guys that are inside of our chat today and adding to the discussion. We've got Pulani. Thank you for joining us. Jessica, who is in the group, and Gumid Hamdi, Natalie Chama. We are so glad you guys are here and listening. Feel free. Do you guys have any questions about blogging yourself that you would like to ask the people that are inside of this group, that they've gone through this process? What questions do you specifically have about blogging and what you can do? Or have you had any of those thoughts like they've had? You know, can you relate to any of the thoughts that were kind of holding them back from moving forward? I do like doing things in a like a little bit of a competitive, like a little like friendly competition, you know, kind of way, because it does motivate and inspire people to take actions that maybe they wouldn't have inspired to do if they tried to do it all by themselves. And I think that's really, really cool. Were there any other realizations that you guys made as you were kind of going through this challenge?
And I had a bit of a different story, because Suzanne said at the beginning, I'm super busy. I'm doing something like 20 to 30 hours tuition a week. I'm doing my master's course and trying to do blogging and trying to have enough time to spend with my family too. So it's like juggle the balls and try and keep them all in the air. Now, during the day, I'm obviously tutoring right through till early evening, and then I was writing for my course in the evening. So that's when I had my head scratching moment, saying to Suzanne, how am I going to find time to blog now? Because it's slipping down the list each week. And that's when she came up with this amazing plan, 10 minutes in between. And this was before she introduced the challenge. So I was starting to write, and I wasn't timing it at that point. I was just writing 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, grabbing time. And it wasn't until we started the blogging challenge, the realization of how much you can actually produce in 10 minutes, because I'd never counted the words like that before. And thanks to Suzanne, I am now running a very similar type of blogging challenge with some of the business ladies that I work alongside with in Donegal here in Ireland. So there's a little group of 5 or 6 of us, and it's for me really too, to keep the momentum going, because if I don't have someone on my tail telling me, how many words have you done this week? I think I might end up slipping again. So it's been incredible having that word count thing hanging over my head all the time to make me really pull my finger out and keep writing. So
I love it.
You're a busy lady.
She is.
Mm-hmm. I agree with Elaine. I'm finding that there's a market for me to teach more adults with disabilities to write sometimes, because I have a background in that. So because I took this course, I can now educate them on how to write better, because they don't know how.
Mm-hmm.
Free them up to write?
Free them up to write.
That's what you did, Suzanne. Free write was such an appropriate title, because you did tell us we didn't have to worry about the keywords at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was trying to put out thoughts and keep my mind on keywords, I just had a block, and nothing was flowing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's the hard thing with keywords, isn't it? There's only so many keywords You could do keyword research. You know, it can help, it can hurt, it can, you know, there's all this stuff, you know, but in the beginning, like, all of it is important, and you just do the best that you can. And Patricia, Patricia was wondering, Elaine, if you did you utilize any of the stuff that you're doing with your coursework and turned it into your blog? Were you able to recycle anything?
That's a really good idea. No, I haven't at the moment. It's very, the stuff that I'm doing in my course has been probably a little bit too highbrow to put out for parents. But there will obviously be elements of it that will be good at feeding into my own ideas for my writing. Thank you, Patricia. I'm feeling that one. Thank you. You know, can I just say about what you were saying, Lynn, about getting rid of that block? Do you know what I've been telling myself? Sloppy copy. Get the sloppy copy down. It doesn't matter if it's not right first time. That's what later on. So I don't even care if there's typos in it. I'm just typing away for those 10 minutes or so and going back to it later. As long as I can read what it says, and I've worked with enough 4- and 5-year-olds to be able to read my own typing errors.
And sloppy copy rhymes, so it's a catchy slogan.
It's catchy.
Exactly.
What is a problem if you're really in the zone writing and you don't look down? I have had unlegible lines because I was one key over, and then the thought's lost. I'm thinking, oh, here we go.
I was just going to ask, did anybody? I was just going to ask kind of a similar question. Did anybody ever lose any of the work that they did on a day, and you had to start over?
What I did end up doing is that Suzanne knows this about me. I forgot what she called me, but she called me a name. Oh,
I did.
It was a terrible name.
Or was it pantsing or planning?
That's me.
Please stop making people think I'm mean. I'm really not. I don't call people a name.
I'm off the cuff, and Suzanne's very systematic, so I'm always fighting her systems. And it's kind of like the person who doesn't read the directions until she puts the bike together and realizes where is the booklet, even being a reading tutor. And I found that I digress a lot in my writing when I'm doing free writing. So when I would finish, I had 3 different blog ideas within my writing. So I was copying, pasting. Ooh, this is so that's kind of what happened. As I wrote, I realized, yeah, this is really about something else. And so I would put that one in that particular. And so there was a lot of copying and pasting. So yeah, it got a little dangerous because, you know, and I also found that I repeated a lot of things, but that I said them better every time.
Yeah.
So that was nice.
But it's a process. I wouldn't say that I lost content, but what I like to do is that I like to type on my phone, and then I like to send the notes to myself, because typing on a regular computer can sometimes feel overwhelming, so you just kind of relax, go on your phone. And maybe there were words that I wrote that I didn't end up including in the word count because they're in my phone somewhere. So I know I did the work, but it's not always in one place, which is fine. Yeah, I'm a pantser too, so I get that. But I think in the process of doing this, every little bit helped, where I think that maybe only writing 100 words a day doesn't make a difference, but it does, where if you can take those 100 words and turn it into something usable, or see, where can I fit this in, or where does this sentiment apply, that would also be good. I found that I also ended up writing about like a topic that I didn't initially plan to write about, but that just happened because I was kind of like, on Instagram, this particular post got a lot of like saved things, which means that people are interested in it, so I might as well review it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was very similar to Esme and Anna when some of the blogging kind of led to a couple of my live streams. So the whole, like, the 3 common mistakes that people make in math, that was originally my blog. And I did the whole detail of it, and I can still do it as a live stream. I can still do it as a blog. And even my most popular one right now, Why We Suck at Algebra, I didn't even think. Because that came from a question from one of my clients. So that's word from word from, I can't tell her name, But that's word from one of my clients. So don't be like, oh, Audrey, that's very inventive. No, that was my client.
But I think that's a really good key, though, is getting the language that your clients are using when you are doing your writing.
Exactly. And it just kind of broadened it out. And then all of a sudden that also became a live stream. So it's like I have, like when we get these ideas, like sometimes you think of these things, like originally I was going to do 5 common things that they're doing wrong with math. And all of a sudden I'm like, 2 of them deal with fractions. And we all know how everyone loves fractions. So fractions is going to be its own series, and I have like 7 different things that we can do corrections with that.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just by just sitting down for 10 minutes and all of a sudden you don't know where your mind's going to take you.
Mm-hmm.
It takes you with your content. It can take you with your personality with your content. It can take like a story that you heard from maybe one of your tutor clients, or maybe something that, like Anna said, you see on Facebook. Like there's so many different things, and you don't have to worry if you see one person has a very similar or maybe exact post that you do. Mm-hmm. But my thing is you're putting your spin on it. Mm-hmm. I mean, how did you perceive that? I mean, some people are talking about Zoom etiquette, and I never knew that there was a Zoom etiquette. I thought it was called, I don't know, manners. And I never knew it was a new thing now. But that could probably be something that a lot of people are talking about because they're online now. Mm-hmm. Everybody's online. So you never know where all these ideas are going to come from.
Isn't that amazing that I find like the more that I write, the more I can write. And when people are getting started, they're like, I have no idea what to write about. Mm-hmm. And then when you get started writing, you're like, oh my gosh, I could write about this, about that, and about that. A lot of people want like starters and that kind of thing. And I get that because at the beginning we don't know where to start. But all of a sudden when you start writing and you make it a habit, you all of a sudden stop worrying about what am I going to write about, is when am I going to write about that? Or when am I going to like develop that whole idea fully? Sometimes we can even zone in, right? We can just tap into one thought or idea and we can like blow it into a bigger circumference for people so that they can really understand it.
And I guess that's what an expert does.
Well, I guess
and
so.
I feel like you get momentum. You get momentum because you realize I had written one blog before Suzanne, and then I wrote one that I published during this time. And I started quoting myself because it was connected to a previous blog in a way. And I was like, if you want to know more about that, on the assessment, the QI6, I talk more about it in this blog. And I thought, ooh, this feels good.
Yes. And that's really great for SEO too, because that's actually backlinking. Backlinks from your own blog actually count as backlinks, and Google and SEO and keyword research, all that kind of stuff. They love that. Google loves that.
Suzanne, when we said that, or you called us names, there's the answers.
Yeah, tell us more about that.
Types. There's the types. Answers and
well, planners, or you could say plotters if you're talking about fiction writing. That's all I meant. I meant to say really that there's basically 2 types of writers. There's people who just sit down and write and things come to them, and those are really pantsers, and that's a great way to be for a certain type of person. For somebody like me, I free write, but I require just a little more planning. I want to make it focused, so I'll put down a few bullet points of things that I think I want to hit, cover, and then I start my free write. And that's about it. But yeah, no, I didn't individually call out people and say they were pantsers or planners. I said some people are like this, and then people said, oh, I identify with that. I asked people who are they. So no, I wasn't picking on people, and it's great to be either way.
She gave us a label and we took it.
Yes. No. You identified with it. You identified with it.
Identified, yes.
I'm happy. I'm leaning a little bit towards planner, because now I will come up with a title and I will say again, brainstorming maybe 4 questions to answer, and that gives me enough organization that editing is not so gruesome.
Yeah.
There you go, Lynn. I think we're hybrids, aren't we? I think we're hybrids.
Yeah.
Can be.
Absolutely.
What's a pantser planner?
I think we just
Plantser?
type in.
I'm a plantser.
I'm a planter.
Okay, yes, pantser. If you don't understand the concept, it's people who write by the seat of their pants.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So it's pants, PANTSERS. But I wanted to ask Stephanie, because Stephanie I think you published 2 blog posts, and you would hit a flow, like you didn't stop at 300 words. How did that process work for you when you were doing that?
Yeah. So I guess I didn't follow that 10 minutes a day suggestion, but I did find it really helpful when we did it like in the workshop and stuff. But I would get kind of inspired sometimes right after a class, like a master class, and I would just sit, like I'd have this idea and I would sit and just write, like even after that 10 minutes, I'd be like, okay, I'm just going with it. And once I got into it, it was like 2 hours went by and I basically had a blog post. I mean, it wasn't completely edited, but I am more of a planner. So I sometimes would just have that kind of vision in my head once I got started, and I would just feel like I had to meet all those points. Like I know in the class you had mentioned doing like a mind map or writing some kind of outline. So that's typically what I would do, is like I have these ideas and I want to hit them. So I would kind of make that outline ahead of time and fill it in. But yeah, I'm not so much of a pantser by nature. And this is what, it was hard for me. And part of the reason I got into the blogging was because I'd never really written in this casual way, or more casual way than I was coming from a very academic setting. So writing like, publications for government or journal articles or stuff like that. It's just a very different type of writing. So I'm still working on getting myself out of that pattern of writing that way and being more relaxed in my writing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I find, though, that having categories in your blog posts, like in the form of questions like why blah, 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 like it kind of feels like an interrogation, but on the other hand, like a research article, you need the categories to draw people's attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and some people just want to kind of skip to certain sections too, and that just really allows them to be able to do that as well. So it's the formatting can be is really pivotal. And we just had a question from Gumad. He said, or she said, I'm not sure, sorry. What are the most frequented niches or subjects that are highly demanded on blog posts? Is it possible to convert online courses into a blog post? I think really it comes down to what is your goal? So if you've got a paid course, you might want to take one of the topics of that course and then drive people to that course. So you always have to know, like, what is your purpose of writing when you're writing? What does your funnel look like? Not just a blog to blog, just for, the heck of it, but actually having a reason for blogging. And I'm not sure that there is a demand for certain types of blogs. People are interested in what you have to say on different topics. And so it's not that if you blog on this, I mean, if you want to take a look at what content are people looking for, you'll find that answer for yourself because it'll be in the numbers. But sometimes it's hard to get found then for that topic if there's a ton of people already writing about that. So you don't always want to write about something that is so highly written about by everybody else that nobody's going to find your stuff because it gets hidden amongst all the other people that are talking about that. But you can take a look at like what is in top news right now if it fits with what it is that you're doing, with what you're doing. Like when the ACT SAT changed their model. Maybe you talk about then, here's how the new SAT is formatted, and maybe other people aren't sharing about that yet, and people want to go to your content because that's current news that's they're being affected by. So I think it's kind of important to think about, what is your purpose for blogging? Where do you want to drive people? Do you want to drive people to a call to action? Is it to sign up for your course? Is it to sign up for one-on-one tutoring services? Is it to set up a free consultation? Decide that ahead of time so that you then know where to drive traffic afterwards. What do you want to do them next? Do you want them to read another blog post? You could drive them to another blog post. That's another place that you could drive them, right? So you got to keep all of those pieces together as you're thinking. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have an end result, and then also you want to do something that you want to write about. Like, yeah, you want to make something that's popular, but if you don't have an interest in it, your heart and soul is not going to be in it, and it's going to show in your writing.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, you want to have something that's going to be connected to whatever your content or your niche is, and then put it out there. And then what is that call to action? That is huge. Because I'm ridiculous when it comes to call to action. I want you to have a meet and greet with me, because once I meet and greet with you, boom, I got you for tutoring. You know, there's like no end. That's it. Not like, oh, I'm going to give you some time. No, you want it. This is what you want. Come with me. Let's go. Okay. But having that call to action at the end, it's great. Don't just do a blog just for the heck of it. It's great to put it out there, but what you want from it, like you're saying, is exactly the whole point. What do you want? Do you want people to come for tutoring? Do you want people to go and see your website? Whatever it is, because that's going to be vital.
And speaking of which, today, right before we did this live stream, Elizabeth was like, what's the link that we're going to send people to today? And I was like, you know what? Let's just invite people to join us in the Ultimate Support Group for Online Tutors if they're not a member yet. And so if you guys are not a member of the Ultimate Support Group, then definitely come and join us. Elizabeth is going to put a link inside of the chat. And if you are watching this on replay, if you click on the description, you can find a link there to be able to join us. See, that's as easy as that, a call to action. What do you want them to do next, right?
So I never thought of that specific a call to action at the end of a blog, as Audrey's talking about.
Yeah.
I had a parent who actually followed my 2 blogs and then just said, let's get started.
So it turned into a student.
It turned into a student.
Nice.
She was convinced, and she was convinced she didn't want to do it. She didn't want to work with her son on reading. And
I think that's the beginning piece where they're at, right? Like before they get someone, they try to do it themselves. And so if you can get them to that piece of, all right, here are some things that you can try to be able to help your child, right? And then they start putting some of this into action. They're like, I just feel lost, or I'm done with the arguing. Here, have it.
That's exactly my approach. I give them like little nuggets. Try this, try that, and then hopefully, they'll come to me. And parents point out, I've actually had parents send my blogs to their kids, like, check out what Miss Stephanie did. I think you should try this. So yeah, it's really nice to be able to kind of advertise yourself in a little way, and then have people take it from there.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the whole point, right? The whole point is to bring them to the next step. You're leading them through a funnel. So it might start with a post on your blog where you're bringing them on social media, where you're bringing them to your website, your blog, and then your blog. Then you want to invite them to take that next step. So.
Well, a lot of times parents, and I think in every subject, are very apologetic that they feel like I should really work with my child, but I don't want to, and they feel bad about that. And for me, I have, 4 tutors for my son who is homeschooled, and 2 of them are from our group, Christina Garrison from the Get 10 Academy, and then I have Anna as my son's Latin tutor. And I tell parents, I could do those subjects. Well, not Latin. I can't do Latin. Sorry. I could try to help in chemistry, but the arguing and all that, and when you can relate to them and you can do it in a blog and explain, I too got a tutor for my child and it's working and I'm enjoying just being the parent. And so I share that a lot with parents in closing. You know, the deal is I understand. Don't apologize because I'm a tutor who hires tutors for my son.
Yes, same.
Yeah.
Same. You guys, I had a daughter who was struggling with reading. And you know, she would argue with me every time I would sit down, and it wasn't like the kind of stuff that I go through with my students. It got to the point where it's like it's our relationship or the reading, and it was like my relationship is more powerful right now. And I share that story with my students' parents because I'm like, look, I get it. Like everybody would look at me and they'd be like, yeah, but Joanne, you know exactly how to help her. I'm like, I do, but she doesn't. She wants to continue to use the excuse of, but my teacher didn't teach me that way. and I'm done hearing it. And so it's like I'm going to give it to somebody else because they have to accept you as teacher, right? And it's so crazy.
That's the magic. That's the magic to finding how it works, because you either wear your mum hat or your teacher hat. And your child doesn't want to see you wearing the teacher hat. They want you to be their mum. Yeah. So I'm the same. I've actually got a little success story there. Robin Glimbotsky does biology with my eldest child, and she came back from school today absolutely bouncing with enthusiasm. She just got 95%. Thanks, Robin. So it is ideal. Get someone else in to do it. Enjoy being mum. There are a million other students out there for you.
Exactly. So I'm curious to find out, how do you see yourself fitting blogging into your busy schedules? What does blogging look like in the future for you guys?
I find that once I meet more people and I direct them more to connecting with me on LinkedIn, these people that know more people, once I'm done building my network a little bit more and I feel more comfortable reaching out to people, I'll start blogging more instead of meeting so many people and really focus on the content creation more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's both. We gotta build both in that interaction, mm-hmm. that engagement, mm-hmm. and then the content. They all play nice together.
It does. But with all these Zoom meetings and all this exciting stuff going around, because everybody's online, I find that I'm getting excited and meeting too many people in Zoom meetings.
It's cool that there's actually, you guys, it's funny you should say that because there's a lot of power. You just already heard the power being in Zoom meetings with other tutors. How many of you who hired another tutor had been in a Zoom meeting in the Insider Secrets Club or had met them somehow through the community? Esme, Elaine. So you guys had connected to people that were in the Zoom meetings and then hired them because you knew that they were going to be able to do it.
You don't know that I'm checking you out and thinking, you'd be perfect for my son. When I went through Jumpstart, I was thinking that exactly, and Christina was in my accountability group. I think that's what it was called too. Mm-hmm. And we actually did a practice where we were
the sales conversation.
Yes. And I said, okay, I want you to start with my son. And she's like, huh? And I said, I'm ready. I want you to start with my son. And she was just like, so her, your question was, how did the consultation go? She actually got a student. And then I started pursuing Anna. I was like, Anna, my son takes Latin, and I would really, really like you to be his, tutor. I don't think she believed me, but she's actually working with my son while we started. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you just never know who is in this group of 9 women who maybe their friend needs a tutor and they just loved hearing you and you sharing your heart, and they're going to say, oh, I know exactly who would be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, networking is a great way to be able to get students, you guys. So blogging, it works. Anybody else, do you guys see blogging in your future?
Definitely. I am in that habit now of at least 10 minutes writing every day. And thanks to doing the challenge, I've got content, not in its final form, but definitely in its first copy for, I think, till the end of January, all sorted. So yeah. I've been power writing, getting it all done, and it's sitting there ready to be edited. So each week I pick another one. I plan which ones I'm going to have when, and I just go through, edit, and publish. So it's done. It's wonderful, and I just keep adding to the collection. So thank you, Suzanne. You have absolutely transformed how I do my blogging now. So I can't thank you enough.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, and you got us past something we have to get our own students past and their parents, which is resistance.
Yes.
And Rewrite got me past resisting sitting at the keyboard, and it kind of blossoms.
Mm-hmm.
It did.
And then some people are having so much success with it, bringing people to their business, that it's a win-win all around. And if I needed help with math, I'd be calling Audrey, because I remember thinking about algebra.
Hey, come like this.
I just want to give a shout out to Lynn, because she was having trouble in the beginning, like just, before the challenge, of even thinking about writing. She wrote the most words in the challenge. I wrote it down somewhere, but she wrote over 12,000 words
Wow.
in 30 days. And I mean, it was mind-blowing. Everybody here hit their goal, or actually everybody here exceeded their goal. But Lynn, writing that 12,000 words that you did, it was mind-blowing to me. Woohoo!
Thank you. And I was just really enjoying it.
Good.
So thank you.
Maybe, Lynn, you should try NaNoWriMo next if you like it so much.
I don't think I don't
I
see
said
that
that
in
to
my
her. I said that. Why don't you join me in November? We'll try and write 50,000 words.
Right? You could write a book that would drive traffic to your business. That's what I did. I wrote the, how to become a better reader.
Let's see,
In 30
November
days?
already started.
What's that?
November started.
Doesn't matter.
Well into November.
No, we're only 12 days in, You know what? You just have to have some double updates. So
Maybe next
a double
year.
up day is if you miss a day and you fall behind in your words, you just plan. You just add that. You say, I'm going to write for, instead of 200 words, I'm going to write 400 words today.
I want to do another challenge with you, Suzanne. Come on, do it again.
I would like that too.
We will, definitely.
I know, and some of you are like, well, when is the challenge? When is the challenge?
I might need to up the words.
We don't have
that tracking, that accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Right, yes. Everybody used a word tracker together, and so they were able to, put down what they wrote each day. And I found out that everybody else is a much faster writer, a much more productive writer than I am, because they could write more in shorter amounts of time than I actually can. But yeah, that tracker, I thought people were going to drop off, but not many people did drop off. All of these people here stuck with it. If they missed a day or so, they just came back at it, and they just powered through and did more. So I do think that element of having to win a challenge did spur them on a little bit more. So yes, I'd love to have a challenge again in 2021.
Yep, you guys are going to have to stay tuned for when the next challenge is. Thank you guys for sharing your journey with us. Congratulations on setting a goal and reaching your goal, and even exceeding your goal. I'm really proud of every single one of you guys. Keep up the great work. And here is to, and let's finish 2020 strong, you guys. You ready? Let's do it. Let's do a big, huge boom cha for everybody. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Boom cha! Bye, everyone.